What you may not understand is that my star is elevated and I can't be regulated because my greatness has been negotiated. My path is my creation, and regardless of adulation, each step I take is filled with gratitude and elations. You see, this journey I am on, try to lower my greatness, there are no negotiations. Yo, good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? This is your coach, Coach Renz, and today we're going to talk about the Black Wall Street bombings, and not so much about the bombings itself. So if you came to this video because you want to learn the history of the bombings, and you came here because you're looking for me to be angry, or to call for a race war, or kill the white people, or anything like that, you came to the wrong video. You came to the wrong video. What was more interesting to me than the video, what happened, is where we are today. Where we are today, I found to be more interesting. I found it to be more interesting because I try to stop myself sometimes from reading the comments that people have, because I know what it's going to denigrate into. And if you've seen this video floating around on Facebook, basically you got, it's like an older 60-minute video, and because I know the last survivor of Black Wall Street is, I think she had a birthday or she passed away, I'm not exactly sure. I didn't see the video, I just saw the title of it. But I saw that, and they had this 60-minute video where there was a black guy who was like 6 years old, 6, 7, 14 years, about 6 years old when this happened. There was a white guy who was like, 5, 6 years old when it happened, and they were giving their accounts of what they remember. The black guy was remembering his dad hid them up in the attic, and he heard his dad talking to a white guy who came to the door, and the white guy asked him did he have a gun. He said no, and he begged the guy, don't burn down my house. But they burned his house down anyway and had to scurry his family out of the house. And then they lived like in a concentration camp, shanty town, during this terrorist attack. And one thing that did irritate me is on the video they kept calling it a riot. It's not a riot, it's a terrorist attack. That's what it was. 10,000 white people decided we're gonna, for no reason other than the fact that we are jealous and hate and filled with hate, is gonna come down and destroy these communities, 35 blocks. That's a terrorist attack. It did strike me that the government did nothing. I mean, the National Guard came in later, after everything was said and done, after 300 people had been murdered, after 50-something people, black people, had been taken into custody as agitators, that no white person was arrested or charged with anything. How can 300 people die and no person is arrested? That just tells you of the situation, and there's a point that I'm going to get to in that. And so these people were unprotected. They had no power, no authority, and it was basically do what thy wilt as far as the hatred in these white people at that time frame. I'm not indicting all white people. Let me go ahead and say that now. Just the ones who participated, or the ones who allowed it to happen and not do anything about it, nor do anything afterwards. I will indict all of them. And anybody who looks at it now and say, well, that was then and this is today, yes, I will indict you into that as well. But the comments afterwards, in the below part, they intrigue me the most. 90% of the comments were from black people. The comments usually followed a couple of different paths. The first pathway that a lot of comments followed, was the pathway of see what they did, see what they did, see what they did, and they're gonna do it again. They're gonna do it again. Y'all better be in ready, because they're gonna do it again. And come down into y'all and burn your neighborhoods, and you see these laws they pass and they're gonna do it again. Now, could it be done in subtle ways? Sure. Will it be done as 10,000 white people descending upon an affluent black neighborhood and burning people houses, burning businesses? The police just stand by and do nothing but arrest the black people who they find that got burned out of their houses, or who are trying to protect themselves and carrying weapons? No, that is not going to happen. Will a white man be able to walk up to another black man's house and ask him, does he have a gun, and then burn his house down? That black man asks him, please don't burn my house down? No, that is not going to happen. So all the ones who are like fear-mongering, saying that that's going to happen literally again, no. Now, if you mean it as an allegory, that there are ways that they are regentrifying, that regentrification of black neighborhoods are occurring, yes, that is happening. But who is to blame for that? Is it the government? Is it the white people who see an opportunity to take an area that's in a growth area and then redetermining how that area is going to be governed and policed and that sort of thing, and what type of value is going to be placed on the land? Am I going to blame the white people or the young urban professionals? Because it's not all just white people. There's a lot of, like here in Atlanta, there are areas of town where young urban professionals, period, are moving into areas that have been taken over by impoverished people, mostly black. And guess what? They're making it better. They're making it places to go. I'm not blaming them for that. I'm blaming the ones who sat there and allowed it to happen. You know, if you're not taking advantage of growth and opportunity, then that's your fault. But back to what we was talking about. The fact of the matter is that yes, there's an allegorical statue that could, allegorical situation that could occur that could remove people from their communities. And like I said, you have to take some action towards it, because this isn't the time frame of the Black Wall Street bombings, this terrorist attack that happened on American soil by other Americans towards other Americans. This is not that. So what's the other thought process in the comments of this? The other thought process is kill the white people. Start the race war and let's kill the white people. That's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. A race war is not going to happen. I'm sorry. There will have to be a major event for a race war to happen. And I don't really see anything on the horizon. Let me give you a little short story. Mind you, this is all rumor. All right, if I want to first say this is all rumor. But when I was in the Marine Corps back in the mid 90s, well, early 90s, I'm gonna say 92 to 93, there was this time frame within that time that it was believed that the Nation of Islam was going to start a race war. It was the rumor that was going around the military base that I was on. Now, while we were on that base, this rumor going around, there were certain people in leadership, I'm not going to name any names, there were certain people in leadership, because it's a rumor, I'm not naming any names, certain people in leaderships who were saying that, oh, we got to make sure that we remove any black person or Spanish person away from an opportunity where they will be able to gain, you know, they will have their normal availability to weaponry. And because that rumor was going around and people took some of that action, there's a rumor of another meeting that happened between the higher ups, and some of those higher ups were, of course, black and Spanish. And the rumor is that they emphatically let them know that the attempt to remove minorities from positions of power on this base is the very thing that will create and start a race war on this base. And if it started on a military base, it could easily spread beyond its borders. So, especially because where this base is, there are several of the bases within close proximity, and there's a ton load of armament to be able to take over a state, really larger than a state, take over like a couple of states. So, but in that, nothing ever happened. Nothing ever happened. I remember we debated and talked about the situation, and I remember speaking to a very racist staff NCO who I worked for, and I emphatically told him that I would just shoot everybody, plain and simple. I shoot everybody. Anybody who's not wearing a Marine Corps uniform or not participating with the Marine Corps or the military, I'm sorry, you're an enemy of the state, so you gotta go. Now if you lay down your weapons and move on about your business, then that's different, but sorry. In the military, we swear an oath to the ideal of the Constitution, not the people, not to a president, not to a senator or a congressman, not to you, but to a principle of an idea that all men are created equal, that all men should be given the opportunity to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which means that anyone infringing on anyone's right to the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is an enemy of the state. Whether you are military with me, whether you are the president, whether you are a congressman, whether you are a civilian, doesn't matter. That's the oath, the true oath, right? It's not to the president. We owe no allegiance to the president. That person is in charge as long as they are upholding that oath, all right? Which is why sometimes we disobey orders, because I have disobeyed orders to go and do certain things that I just refused to do because it went against what I gave an oath to do. So those are the other type comments you get on there about the whole race war. You know, gotta have the race war, we're gonna fight. Then you get the comments of religion. The religious battle begins. And in the religious battles, you got the conscious black people against the Christians and Muslims and the Hebrew Israelites. It is all stupid, to be honest. To be honest, it is insane. It makes no sense. It makes no sense because the religious people on their side is saying God is going to come back and Jesus died for everybody, and those people weren't Christian, and that was evil, and Jesus died on the cross for our sins, and when God comes back, he's going to move mountains and he's going to punish all those people for doing what they did. He's going to punish the people today. You know, this country is an unrepentant country, and that's why it is the way it is, and that's why we're going to have this racial injustice and all these kind of things that they throw up because, you know, they're not kumbaya under the banner of Christianity or Islam or whatever. The conscious black person on there, they're talking about how, you know, black people need to stop, you know, following along this Christianity. That's why that black man was standing at the door begging this white man not to burn down his house, when that's actually so far from the truth. You're begging this white man not to burn down your house because at that time frame, you had no government support, you had no police support. If you did shoot that white guy, you're going to jail or going to be hanged, and they're going to kill your entire family because back then, might is right and might was white. Oh, that was right. But it's true. Might is right, and at the time, the might was white. And if that black man would have done something, his entire family would have been killed. They would have been, instead of being 300, have been another 305 that would have died. So it's not a begging. And I'm not justifying the Christian aspect or the religious aspect either. David went out and fought Goliath and killed a bunch of people. Moses killed a bunch of people. Sodom and Gomorrah, a bunch of people died. Peter cutting off folks' ears. You know, early Christians massacred millions of Coptic Christians, massacred millions of people who didn't convert over to Christianity under the guise of the Roman government. The Salem witch hunts, murdering women who had independent thought and free sexuality. The Renaissance, pretty much destroying cities and families and states simply because they are disagreeing with the Pope. You know, in today's world, you disagree with their Protestant, Baptist, Methodist, even your non-denominational, and you're ostracized and criticized, and character assassinations occur. So, you know, it's the they want you to obey blindly and to wait for heaven in the sky, wait for God to come down and do something, when the very same people who are doing it to you believe the same thing you believe, but yet because you're being the oppressed, you say that person is not a true believer. Well, here's the thing, neither are you, because you're not abiding by what's in your book. Your book doesn't tell you to sit there defensively and don't do nothing. Don't protect your body, your property, who you are. Yeah, don't lay up your treasures in heaven, true. But you gotta be accountable for what you were given here on earth. Your life, your body, your house, your family. You are accountable for that and for the protection of that, right? Otherwise, why would it tell you to be prosperous? Why would it tell you to have prosperity and have abundance? You're supposed to have abundance and then allow any old thing, any old evil person to come and take it from you? It's a stupid thought. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't even go with your own book, right? So, and you can dismiss me because you can say that, well, you're an unbeliever, so you don't know. But trust me, in order for me to become a non-believer in your Christianity, Islam, Judaism, what's the other one? Your Hebrew Israelite. In order for me to become a non-believer in that, it means that I studied it through and through and found it wanting. I found it lacking. And that is why. But I have no disrespect for you who do believe it. If that's your choice, believe it, but believe it. Live it. Do it. Stop arguing with people about it, right? You don't, and so what? Conscious people, if they don't know much or nothing about their own book, and you know more than they do about their own book. So what if you know all the history concerning Constantine and the Council of Nicaea and the Council of Thessalonica and the Council of Laodicea, and you know about how they burned down the Coptic Christians and they went out about killing everybody who disagreed with them, and how the books are a copy of the Sumerian text and the Enuma Elish and the Hammurabi Code, and they're copying, what's on the walls in Egypt. Okay, yes, you know that. But let me ask you a question. What are you doing with it? What are you doing with it other than starting arguments? What are you doing with it other than being able to stand on a podium and get gratitude for yourself? Are you living it yourself? Because if you are, then you would understand the Hermetic, not code, but you would understand the Hermetic laws, and you'd be living it. And you would understand it, and you'd be doing better yourself. You see, at the end of the day, the only other argument that was in there that caught my attention were the few white people who were scattered throughout, who talked about the horrors of it and how they didn't know about it, how the history books covered it up and how that was disgraceful and that sort of thing. But yet, they're not doing anything in their lives today to make anything different, or at least their content didn't suggest that. So, what are you doing, any of you, to ensure that something like that doesn't happen, whether allegorically or literally? What are you doing? Now, we've accidentally gotten ourselves in a situation where something like that is not going to happen literally. How do we accidentally? Well, I gave you an idea in the story that I told you when I was in the Marine Corps of how we accidentally got in a position. You see, one of the higher ups who was in this rumored meeting was a black guy who was a general. Right? There were several key black people in charge of tank battalions, or in charge of the armories, in charge of supply, in charge of supply warehouses, in charge of different things. There were key black people who was in charge of infantry units and things like that. So basically what I'm getting at is that there was, and to this day is, enough infiltration, not assimilation, not integration, but infiltration in the military, enough infiltration in the police force, enough infiltration in politics, in business. There's enough infiltration, not all that it should be, but there's enough to at least prevent a full-scale race war. Is it enough to prevent all injustice? There will never be enough to prevent all injustice. As a matter of fact, there's injustice that happens to the white people too. White people are beaten by police. Is it always captured on tape? No. Is it as often? Probably no. If it's a white woman, damn sure not. But it does still happen. There are impoverished, lower income white people who get beat down by cops the same way. There are impoverished white people who get gentrified out of their neighborhoods the same way. The reason why it's more pointing towards black and Spanish people is because there's more black and Spanish people by percentage who are in impoverished areas, and there is then the racial stigma that there is nothing but crime going on in those environments. So yes, are we victimized more? Of course. Is the prisons overflowing with a higher percentage of blacks and Hispanics? Yes. Do the Spanish guys get counted as white people in the prison system? Yes, these things occur. I'm not saying they don't, but what I am saying is that we have enough infiltration that a major race war, that something like Tulsa, is not going to happen. I'm sorry, roll up to my house and think that you're going to just walk away scot-free just because you think you're going to burn some stuff down. It's not going to happen. You're going to get shot. You're going to get killed. If you don't get shot, you're going to get stabbed, but you're going to die one way or another. And that's what we're hoping happen if anytime somebody tries that. And then the police are not going to just stand there and just arrest black people and then just let the white people keep burning and pillaging, a community. It's not going to happen literally. But how do we stop it from happening legally? How do we stop it from happening through people just, regentrifying communities? Well, we got to learn how to control our money first. We're out here spending our money and not saving. We're not investing in the property. How can they come in and buy up your property or buy up the land if you own it. But if you don't own it, then the owner, the true owner, can sell it whenever they want to. If you're renting a house, if you're renting in a plaza, then the owner can come and sell it whenever they want to. Whenever they want to. There's a street in the city of Marietta that I grew up in. When I was growing up, this street was filled with apartments, and when I was a kid, this was the place that you moved to right before you bought a house. So it was like, I'm living a little bit up, nice apartment, but then after this, you buy a house. Then it got ran down in the 90s, right? The 90s, crime-ridden, ran down the whole deal. Now it's being redone again. They're building soccer stadiums, they're building complexes, all the kinds of stuff, and they've been tearing down all these apartments. All those people of lower income are now having to move out. The people who own the apartment buildings, and I know 3 of them are owned by a black guy I know, he is going through the process of not renewing leases so that it can be sold. Because if he renews any lease, then his sale doesn't go through. So he's going through that process of not renewing any leases, right? And so he got the banks working with him so that he can not renew any leases, still be able to make the mortgage, the payments and that sort of thing. But that's business. That's how it's done. Now he's one black guy on that street who owns 3 apartment complexes, and it's a pretty decently long street, by 1.5 miles long. But if you're in a neighborhood and they're regentrifying it, it's because you don't own the property. If you're in a neighborhood and any business that's coming in, Walmart's and all these people come in because nobody's putting up a business that looks like you, and then the other end of that is that you're not supporting the businesses that look like you. You're supporting everybody else's business. And then those people don't live in your community nor care about your community, so whose fault is that? See, Black Wall Street, they cared about their own businesses, they cared about the people in their business, but mainly they didn't have a choice. They didn't have a choice. You couldn't go to the white businesses back then. You couldn't go and be served by those people. They wouldn't allow you. And then for the few that did, they treated you like crap. So why would you consistently go and buy from them? So you don't. You support the communities. You support your own community. And that's how a Black Wall Street is built. But, for all that talk in the comments, racial talk, economic talk, all the talk that's concerning religion, at the end of the day, people are going to hate each other. You think that when the Africans was in Africa, when our ancestors was in Africa and they had their African gods, do you honestly think that they were just kumbaya and living in peace? No, they had wars as well. They had poverty as well. It wasn't all glory. It's like this pastor I heard this past Christmas talking about how after Constantine legalized Christianity, there was a golden era of Christianity, which was like a straight up ignorant lie. But there has never been a golden age of just peace and prosperity. Yeah, there are times where the majority of people, or a good number of people, are making some money, but there's always going to be the impoverished. There's always going to be the oppressed. There's always going to be racism or nationalism or some kind of religious fanaticism that other people are going to argue and fight. The movie Wonder Woman that just came out, it had a good little part in it. So if I'm spoiling this part, just skip this part, where Ares basically said that man has always had this evil in him, and he was just trying to show Zeus that his little creation always has some evil inside of him, and that man will just, if given the opportunity, will fight and destroy one another. Yeah, so I'm gonna end this. We really all need to understand the love aspect of what we claim that we believe, because regardless of what we believe in love. And that was the other point of the Wonder Woman movie, and I should do a video about that. But she decided she chose love instead of giving in to the hate and the anger, and that's the difference. To choose love, to choose respect, to choose unity instead of giving in to hate, frustration, jealousy, envy, instead of giving in to desires of lustfulness that takes away from somebody else's life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So you got to free yourself if you want to be yourself, and that's the only way that we can survive. So y'all have a great day. Enjoy yourself. This has been your coach, Uncle Renz. Hope I haven't bored you. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment, subscribe. Y'all have a great day.